Hello everyone and welcome to the Tank Club. I'm TC Lee and today we're going to be doing a monster set review. Today's monster set is going to be the Magma Incarnate monster set. Now for a short period of time this was a best in slot monster set, especially for dungeon content. But as the game changes, so does the best in slot gear, so does the way that things are utilised and worked. So we're going to have a little look at this set now. So to start off with the set piece bonuses. Now for the 1 items we're going to get 129 Magicka Recovery and 129 Stamina Recovery. And then for the 2 items, when you heal yourself or a group member with a single target heal ability, grant the lowest health group member within 28 meters Minor Courage and Minor Resolve, increasing their weapon damage and spell damage by 215 and their armor by 2,974 for 10 seconds. Daedric energy will then bounce to a nearby group member within 8 meters, up to 3 times, applying Minor Courage and Minor Resolve for 10 seconds. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds. So this gear set might be known also as Magma Incarnate, and this is obtained from the Dread Cellar on Veteran. Now this is a decent monster set for 4-man content, and the reason why is because a lot of players will actually use the Yolnahkriin gear set, and what this does is it replaces the need for Yolnahkriin. So you could use something else instead, maybe Drake's Rush, maybe Turning Tide, something else, and then you can incorporate the Magma Incarnate monster set so that you can still benefit from the Minor Courage. You also get Minor Resolve in addition to that, which gives you an additional buff, so that's why it can be seen as quite a useful monster set. The only issue is it's not as reliable as the Claw of Yolnahkriin 5-piece gear set, and it's also not as reliable as the Spulder of Ruin mythic item, which is just a shoulder piece. So while it is somewhat useful, it's nowhere near as close to being as good as the Spulder of Ruin or the Claw of Yolnahkriin set. Now the reason why you might want to drop the Claw of Yolnahkriin is obviously it's a 5-piece gear set and this is a 2-piece monster set, so you're getting 2 pieces of gear that's going to basically provide the same buff as a 5-piece gear set. So obviously there is some kind of use there, but obviously with Magma it only affects you plus 3 other people potentially, so a maximum of 4 people can be affected by this at one go. So this is definitely not a set that you're going to use for trial content. It's a dungeon monster set. Now if we're talking trials, again, another set that's going to be more beneficial would be Encratis. Now, in terms of groups using fire damage, fire staves, fire glyphs, fire skills, if you're with Magicka Dragon Knights, obviously Encratis is going to be far superior. If you use the Claw of Yolnahkriin gear set, then obviously this is useless. If you are using both, then you are wasting gear slots by using Magma Incarnate with Yolnahkriin. So don't ever do that. Just make sure you use something else instead and you get additional benefits. Now the major downside to this set is the fact that it requires quite a short range. So the first proc of this gear set is gonna be like it's gonna affect somebody within 28 meters, but that means you've got to heal somebody within 28 meters of you to give them the initial buff. This then bounces between your group members, so you have to make sure everyone's stacked. Now the easiest way to proc this is to heal yourself and then make sure your group members are stood within 8 meters of you, and then it will bounce and it'll bounce and it'll bounce. Now it will bounce between people within an 8 meter radius, so everybody needs to be really close. So this can be difficult if you are doing random dungeons, if you use the dungeon queue for your pledges or whatever. This is going to be hard because quite typically in those kind of groups they're not close enough. So 8 meters between you and then 8 meters to the next person, 8 meters to the next person. They need to be very close for the bounce to hit them to give them these buffs. That being said, this does still perform better than Encratis for 4-man content in terms of the damage buff that you get. Encratis' damage buff is quite small, especially when you can go into a random dungeon, for example, and you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know if you're going to get people using fire staves. You don't know if people are going to be using fire damage. You don't know if people are going to be making use of Encratis. So this is going to provide a better benefit for that type of group and situation, but still it's kind of quite ineffective. Now, to proc this monster set, you need to use a single target heal. So the easiest way to do this is to heal yourself. Now, every single class has access to a single target heal. So if you're a Warden, Polar Wind works. If you're on a Dragon Knight, Green Dragon Blood. For the Sorcerer tank, it's going to be the Clanfear. If you want a Nightblade, it's going to be Dark Cloak. For all tanks, you can use Resolving Vigor. You have to be missing health and physically heal yourself back up using a heal to proc this gear set. It does not work from overhealing. So if you overheal yourself, it won't do anything. It doesn't proc. It doesn't proc. If you're at full health and you heal and you overheal yourself, it doesn't proc. So you have got those kind of issues that are there. So if we look at the pros and cons of this gear set. So for pros, we've got, this is a really, really nice one-piece gear set. Having both the recoveries there, it's really nice. Another pro, it removes the need to use the Yolnahquin set so you can get some other buffs. It provides Minor Courage, which is going to buff your damage, but it also provides resistances. And you can proc it by just healing yourself. So those are the pros. And then for the cons, it can be very, very hard to proc this when you have a healer in your group. So if you're proccing it on yourself with a heal, if you've got a healer who is actually healing you, so this is really difficult because you have to lose health, then heal yourself, and then it'll proc. So in situations where you have a healer, I found this impossible to activate when there's a healer in your group. It's easy to miss group members unless they're really hard stacked and close together. It has a max possible uptime of 66%, which is much lower than Yolnahquin. The DPS gain from this set is approximately 1.5%, so not huge amounts, especially when you consider in a dungeon group you might only have 2 damage dealers. 1.5% more damage is not a huge amount. And it's only really useful for 4-man content. Now, there is a benefit to still picking up this monster set, so the helmet in particular, because if you pair the helmet with the Spulder of Ruin, this is going to cover your losses for the missing resources that you'll get by using Spulder. So when you use the Spulder of Ruin Mythic Shoulder, this is going to reduce your Magicka recovery and your stamina recovery and your health recovery. Now, by using the one piece of Magma, this is going to pretty much cover most of the loss that you get by doing that. So this is a really, really useful one piece that is still worth getting. The monster set definitely worth picking up for the helmet especially. And yeah, so this is the Magma Incarnate monster set. Now, in terms of a rating for this gear set, obviously for trial content, it's going to be a 0 out of 5 because it's not useful whatsoever in trial content. It has to bounce between group members. It can only hit a maximum of 4 people, you being one of them, so only 3. So it's wildly ineffective for trials. The one piece will be very useful in trials as an off-tank using Spulder. So if you're an off-tank using the Spulder of Ruin, the one piece of Magma Incarnate is going to be a 5-star piece of gear to use with that. In terms of 4-man content, I'm going to give this gear set a 3 out of 5 because it is somewhat useful. If you have an organised group, if you have the ability to communicate and tell people, stand close together, you're going to get some use out of this. The fact that it doesn't have a super high uptime affects it a little bit, and the fact that gear sets like Spulder of Ruin are 100% uptime and a stronger buff means that it's going to be better to use that. So it's nowhere near as good as the Spulder of Ruin. There are better alternatives out there, but the Magma Incarnate is an option for you as a dungeon tank. And so that is everything for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.